Welcome back to Charting with Martin. I've got my guest with me still, DG Torrens, fascinating us with all the literary listens that she's given us and news about her Survivor series and all the different books. But we're actually going to change tacks a little bit because you and I, DG, we went and made a film. We made a documentary, didn't we? About
You know what?
Birmingham.
We did make a documentary.
Yeah. Birmingham, a city rooted in talent. And we had quite a big 80s flavour in that, if you remember.
Yes, we
You
did.
do. I know you remember because we talk about the film every day. Obviously, it was set at well, we've done a lot of interviews in the former Rum Runner site, which is where the bands of Duran Duran played, of course,
Yeah.
the band Fashion. We had Maggie K. DeMond, who's a reveller there, who was in Scarlet Fantastic and Swan's Way. And then, of course, we also had Bev Bevan we interviewed. We featured Mickey Billingham from Dexys. So we did really give a big, although it was very all-encompassing, we've done quite a lot of 80s stuff.
Ruby Turner, another
Ruby
one.
Turner, another one, yeah.
Dennis Stephen, Musical Youth. The list goes
Musical
on.
Youth, yes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So much 80s music available from the region. Unbelievable. So, what? I'm putting you on the spot here, but
Go on.
what could you tell our audience about the documentary you made, do you think?
Okay, I think Martin and I, when we came together and made this documentary, we had the same vision in mind. And it was that collective vision that made the film possible. And all we wanted to do was to show Birmingham in a positive light. We wanted to because Birmingham, which we've talked about so much, Martin, haven't we? Birmingham has been at the center stage of the world so many times over the decades. And, I think it gets forgotten in the dull narrative, when people are talking about cities, they talk about the negative. And all we kept thinking about was, God, you've got Black Sabbath, you've got Led Zeppelin, you've got all these,
Fuzzbox. We better mention Fuzzbox, otherwise they'll kill me.
You've got all these incredible people, who, born from Birmingham, who have put Birmingham on the world stage. Some of the best music, the best loved music in the world is still revered today. I mean, look what's going on in July with the Black Sabbath reuniting.
Yeah.
The city has come together again for that, hasn't it? There's so much going on. And I think between the two of us, through a lot of hard work, stress, tears, God knows what, we pulled it off. And we still pinch ourselves today. How on earth did we do that? But we did. And I think it was for the love and the passion of the job in hand, the project. We were so united on that, that I think we brought together the most compelling, unique, groundbreaking Birmingham documentary on all the talent over the decades that's ever been done.
Yeah, it was certainly a passion project for us, wasn't it? And we wanted to harness everything.
Yeah.
Through interviews, talking heads. So we've got lots of interviews and stories told by the likes of Bev Bevan, Fuzzbox.
Yeah.
A bit later on, outside the 80s, we had Lolly, we had Dennis though from Musical Youth. So we had all these first-hand stories about Mulligan from Fashion, Dave Harris from Fashion, Maggie, of course, Maggie DeMond. We had all these first-hand stories, and a lot of it was around the 80s as well and beyond.
Yes, it was.
And we even included some football from the 80s because, as you know, ladies and gents, from Birmingham, if you know any Aston Villa fans, they never stop telling you that they won the European Cup in 1982. And we did poignantly get Gary Shaw's last ever interview on film.
Did.
Which
it's funny, isn't it? You never realise when you're interviewing people, like when we interviewed, it was such an amazing interview. We had so much fun, didn't we? You never know. We never would have foreseen that was going to be his last ever interview, live interview, and it was such a poignant thing.
Yeah.
And I think the film captures.
It does capture his spirit. It does really capture his spirit.
It captures his spirit, his smiling and his sense of humour, and it was lovely.
He enjoyed his time with us, which is nice. And we enjoyed our time with him.
We
Yeah,
did
so
enjoy it.
obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I will keep you posted as to when you can see this documentary that we've made. But if we're going to play a song from there, well, there's so many to choose, isn't there?
Oh, this is a
Got
God,
from
you're
the
putting me on
80s.
the spot now.
What,
Okay. From the 80s, if you were going to play a song from the
from
film
one
from
of
the
the guests,
80s,
yeah, one of the guests or something that.
okay.
So, I'll,
I think,
go on.
oh, well, okay, I'm going to give you two or three and you
Yeah,
choose.
okay,
So
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
you've got Fuzzbox.
Yeah,
You've got, obviously, you've got Dennis Seaton,
yeah.
his musical youth. I don't know
Castle
if you can play
Dutcher, yeah, yeah.
Castle Duchy, and you've got God, there was Ruby Turner,
Maggie Demond,
um,
of course, as well.
Maggie
Our
K. DeMond.
narrator,
Oh,
who narrated,
I
narrated.
was just about to
Yeah.
jump in and say that Maggie K. DeMond is our incredibly beautiful and well-spoken narrator who knits all the film together with
Yeah,
her
she does a
beautiful
brilliant job.
narrative.
And she had the
Brilliant.
memories of the Carn and Bell shop and of course the runner that rivaled the Blitz Club in London. So she'll go with
I
Maggie.
think.
No, it's got to be no
Can we go with
memories.
Maggie? I
Yeah.
think we owe
We
we owe
love you,
Maggie that.
everyone in the film who's in our film. We love you all. Can't believe how quick the time has gone. But we're having a blast talking about DG's writing. Or literary listens. You know, we've just encompassed the whole meaning of literary listen. So this is the best literary listen feature I've had on my show. So thank you, DG, for joining me. But tell us a little bit then about your writing, you know, and where we can find more stuff about you. How did you
Okay.
get into it and the rest of it, you know?
Okay. So, um, my writing is very multi-genre.
Um,
I tend to write the novel I want to write, and the genre has to fit around me rather than me fit my writing around a genre. So,
mm,
because I'll get a story in my head,
hmm
and I don't want to have to think, God, I'm a thriller writer or romance writer or
mm,
or whatever, and then have to fit it in that or can't, you do hear a lot about this, where
yeah,
I've had author discussions where they says, oh, I wish I could write that, but I'm this author. And I said,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
why don't
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
expand, become a multi-genre? I mean,
Yeah,
it gives you so much more freedom and
I agree.
scope.
I agree.
100%, so I write romantic suspense, I write domestic thrillers, I write non-fiction,
Yeah,
and military romance, so but more recent years I'm leaning towards the domestic thrillers. I've
yeah,
written about 4 or 5 now.
yeah.
And I think with that it gives me the scope to take my writing and test my sort of literary head in a way that it kind of pushes me
Mm,
out of the box,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
yeah, you know what I mean. So, like with domestic thrillers, that's completely different to writing military romance, although there
Yeah,
can be a lot of thriller in military romance.
yeah,
It's more heavy on the romance rather than the thriller.
yeah.
So they're kind of there's different components of writing. There's different styles of writing, and I kind of adapt really well
Mm,
to each different
mm,
component of
mm.
that of the writing under various genres, and like I said, I'll come up with, like, at the moment I'm going through a domestic thriller
Mm,
season in my
mm,
writing,
mm.
and it's all about domestic thrillers with a message.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and one thing I do in my books is I do draw from life experience. I draw from real life. So there's a lot of real life elements, although it's fictionalized because they're
mm.
fiction. I do tend to draw from real life experiences, the darkness of real
Yeah, yeah,
life,
yeah, yeah.
the lure of it, the draw makes for great fiction writing. And how many of us don't know who hasn't been through an absolutely traumatic, terrible situation in their life,
Mm,
or
mm,
you've heard of some terrible crime happening somewhere, or you've experienced it, firsthand or
mm.
through secondhand through a family. So there's so much story scope there. And I think that's what I love about that. So there's always elements of real life weaving their way through my
Mm.
stories. People will get killed, and somebody
Yeah,
might
yeah,
survive
yeah.
another. They might end up with a leg missing, or get
Blimey.
pushed down the stairs and break their
Yeah.
neck. You know, um, it's not always sort of.
These parts are fiction, ladies and gentlemen. Just a
I'm so
disclaimer:
sorry.
DG doesn't push people downstairs or.
No, I don't. I don't. No, but goodness me, you know,
This
as
is
an
what we
author,
get away with as authors, isn't it? We can play out all these
yeah. I
scenarios.
mean, I often wonder what on earth, you know, how I've not been arrested for my blinking Google search.
I
Because, you
know,
know, when you're
yeah, oh yeah,
searching,
yeah,
because you have to search
yeah,
so many different things for your characters because you
yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
you're not that person. You're having to
Exactly,
create
yeah,
this person, this
yeah,
personality. So what would
yeah,
a person do in this situation? And
yeah.
and if you look, you know, I've had this discussion so many times.
Mm,
It's such a great discussion because every author's the same. You know,
yeah,
gosh, you know, my Google search,
yeah,
but somehow they know your titles everywhere. Author, oh,
yeah,
that's why they searched that, and nobody's come to your house. You know.
yeah,
So no, it's I love the research part
yeah,
of writing a story, especially if it's a difficult story, like within all my domestic thrillers. I
yeah,
research to death. You know me very well. I'm a
yeah,
heavy on research,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I have to get everything, you know,
Mm,
right to point.
mhm,
And I will interview people, and I'll, you know, search real life blogs that people who've actually gone through various
mm,
situations. I'll read all these people's
mm,
real life stories to
mm,
get an idea of how, you know, get into their head, get
mm,
into the store, into the head of people who've experienced this, so that I can write with authority
mhm,
and genuine empathy
mm.
for, you know, if there's victims, obviously in my story,
Yeah,
which there's a few in my stories. But I do heavily research. But my greatest, I never knew this. I mean, everyone who knows me knows I never went to university.
mm,
Um, and I've never been a marketer either. But one of the things that came out of owning my own business, being a self-employed author, an
mm,
indie author at that,
mm.
um, was I didn't realize how good I'm a natural marketer. Who knew?
Yeah,
Who knew?
yeah,
So when you come to market your books, every author knows it is a nightmare
yeah,
because there's only so many different things you can do.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody's doing the same thing. Everyone's got the same goal. So trying to think out of the box and hitting readers and people in a way that is not so common that will
Mm-mm,
grab people's
mm-mm.
attention is really, really exceptionally difficult.
It is.
So that's what I try and do. So, and I think that's down to my imagination.
Yeah,
That's
good.
down to
It's
imagination.
good to have an imagination when you're an author.
It helps, doesn't it? I just
Yeah.
tend to run outside the box, leave the door open, and I'm sprinting down the road, you know. I think, there it is, that's all I need to do. And then figuring out how to incorporate that and think, oh, I could use that to promote my books.
Mm.
Yeah, I actually do enjoy the marketing side
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
of books,
It's good you
which
enjoy the marketing side because that's I find that the painful bit. As many authors will share this with us, won't
oh,
they?
most authors do.
It's
Yeah, they
so
do.
time consuming. You have to do so much marketing. Where do you find the time to write? Sometimes, you know.
Well, true, and also we do everything else ourselves. You know, we have to literally organise absolutely everything ourselves
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
self-published author. You know,
yeah,
your book cover, your formatting, you
yeah.
either do it yourself or hire someone to do it. The editing, the beta reading,
Mm,
like you said, the marketing, and then getting it on the publishing platforms,
mm,
whichever publishing platform you do, and then the hard work really begins because the majority of your time is spent
mm.
pushing that book and
Yeah.
hoping people will love it and
And where will
market.
people find you and your books? Where can people find you if they wanted to learn more about you or to buy your books? Where's the best places?
Obviously, all my books on Amazon,
Yeah,
Amazon worldwide,
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah,
So just type in DG Torrens and
mm,
you'll bring up all my books.
yeah,
Obviously, you've got my website. Just type in DG Torrens author. My
yeah,
website will come up.
yeah,
Twitter,
yeah.
um, TikTok. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Enjoying TikTok lately as well. That's been
I'm
another.
enjoying TikTok at the moment, and I'm this Gen X is kind of mastering TikTok quite well right now.
Yeah.
Twitter, LinkedIn, you know, Instagram. You'll pretty much find
Across all the
me.
socials, just find
Yeah,
TG Torrens and we'll find you.
you'll
Well,
find me. I'm not hard to find. I'm just there waiting for you all to come
yeah.
and visit me. Pop along.
Well, it's been absolutely. I could talk to you all night, but unfortunately, I only have 2 hours on this show. Chartering.
Oh,
I can have you back another time when
that
there's
would
more
be
80s
great.
movies to talk about in your future books. But we're gonna. Anything happens on Chartering Martin, and I know that a little segue here that of course your books would make fantastic Christmas presents, Dawn.
Wouldn't
DG, I
they?
should say. Oh, Freudian slip there. But so. I believe there's a Christmas song from the 80s that features in your writing. Do you want to tell me about it?
Last Christmas,
Yes.
um, with one of my all-time favorite songs. Yes, it does feature in one of my books, and it's towards the end of Free for a Girl, and there's a happy
Yeah.
scene, and
Oh,
there's a really happy scene, like a get together. The three
yeah.
girls find their way back together who were in that horrible place, Billingford House. And it's the Christmas, they want this Christmas song
Yeah.
played, and it's kind of becomes their song, their
Ah, okay.
lifelong friendship song. And it's Last Christmas, yeah. And um it's also every single year in the Torrens household, it is
Mm.
played on Christmas Day with DG and a glass of Prosecco, cooking Christmas dinner,
Yeah.
bottles going
I
down.
think you're being quite modest when you say a glass of Prosecco. Oh.
Oh, by the time the whole bottle's gone. But every year it's tradition, and it's played in our
Yeah.
house every single year, and it's
Fantastic.
one of my favorite. It is probably my favorite Christmas song.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's a fantastic, happy note for the end, for towards the end of the book.
yes,
Complete ending. We're not
yes,
going to give the ending away. Brilliant.
towards.
End on a happy note for this interview. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you again, DG, my guest, DG Torrens, for joining me.